Yo, what's going on, everybody? So we ended up buying another collection. Super excited about this one. It had some good stuff. You can see there's some prismatic, really just the one SPC. We'll talk about all the numbers and pricing very soon. And then we got 10 of the regular ETBs for prismatic. We got 8 of the white flares, 6 journey togethers, 2 shrouded fables. And so you might be thinking, like, why in the world, DJ, would you be buying this? Well, I say what I always say. If the price is right, if the numbers make sense, if the deal is good, especially in this kind of market, I am always buying. That's what I tell many people. And I actually purchased this from a guy who had a store and he had to sell. He had to sell because he ran into some issues and is closing his store. So now people like myself, we are around. Now I did not pay 100% value. I will talk about that shortly. It paid a little bit under 80%. Now look at this price tag here. This is crazy, right? $120. That's what this guy was charging at his store. And then he said he used to charge $150 and people were buying it. So I left the stickers on there. You can see for the SPC, he was charging $300. And so I was like, man, what's wrong? Like, are you not selling? Is it because your prices were too high? He's like, dude, you have no idea. He told me he used to sell these prismatics in his store for $150. Look at this tag. Look at this, dude. $150. So yes, he did mark some of them down to $120, but like he said a couple months ago, he was getting $150 for these. I mean, that's just crazy to think about. $150. And he said, like, kind of the benefit of having a store is people will pay more. They just walk in. This is somewhere in Virginia. I mean, obviously he doesn't have the store anymore. Like I said, he's closing. But to think about people just walking in and overpaying to that level, I mean, that's how crazy things were. They've kind of cooled down, especially for this set. I'm sure there's other sets like 151 you could get away with for sure. But, you know, some of these other sets, he was charging $80, shrouded fable. And he said he used to get that, man. He said he used to have hundreds of these, you know, hundreds and hundreds of these. And this is kind of like the leftover stock. Journey Together, I don't see a sticker at the moment, but he said he was probably getting $90 for each one of these. And I guess that was kind of the benefit of having a storefront, at least what he was telling me. Like I said, we've done business before. I bought some other things off this guy. This is the second collection from him. I bought, I think, 12 of the prismatics last week from him, and then like maybe 8 or 10 white flares, which white flares I've been slowing down on. However, if the price is good, I will be buying, and that's kind of the situation we got in. So let's talk about the numbers. Okay, so let's talk about the numbers now. So again, there's 1 SPC and 26 ETBs. This is just so much more expensive than the others. I really think we should just kind of put this to the side and talk about the average for the rest, but we'll combine the whole thing because that's how we bought it. I paid $1,985. And looking at TCG Marketplace this morning, I looked at it and it's worth about $2,560. That's obviously at 100% value. I certainly did not pay that. I paid roughly 77%. I think it's in between 76 and 77, but we could round up to 77%. So again, that is $1,985. So some of the math that I was thinking in my mind of like where I really wanted to be, honestly, for this SPC, this thing has been going up so much. That, according to this morning, says it is worth $250. And I swear this was just $230 the other day. So in my mind yesterday when I bought it, I was thinking, okay, this is worth about $230. So pretty much I paid $200 for this. So I thought that was a steal of a deal and really helped me with the risk mitigation, right? A lot of people are looking for full market value when selling their collection. And I think that's fine on a small scale. If you're trying to sell me 1, 2, 3, maybe even up to 5 of these, I get it. Like you're looking for 100% or pretty close to 95% and up, but I'm just not that person, right? It just would not make sense for me. And let's be honest, some of these sets are not the greatest sets in the world. And so I don't want them if they're that high. Anyways, for Journey Together, in my mind, I wanted to pay $65. I know the MSRP on these is about 60. So with tax, this is pretty much MSRP, and we got it for a little bit under that. So pretty much exactly what it cost in the store. So I was really happy with that. Shrouded Fables. You know, I didn't know much about this one. I knew it wasn't like high on my list. According to the marketplace right now, they're worth about 70. So yeah, I wanted to be about MSRP, which we were about MSRP on the 2 that we got of these these, so I was pretty happy with that. The biggest one for me besides the SPC was the prismatics, which is not quite half the collection, almost a third of the collection, and that was prismatic regular ETBs. I wanted to be in $90 at the most. They're worth about 105. I've seen this go up to 110 every other day, but this morning, according to TCG, they're worth about 105. So yeah, I got these for, I don't know, $83, 80, something like that. And so for me, again, it really comes down to the risk mitigation. All in all, like I said, we're about 77%, and that helps me. That helps me a lot because I'm gonna be sitting on these. If you're wondering, like, why do I keep buying collections? What am I doing with these? Why do I buy some of the junk? Simply because it's MSRP, you know, and if it ever goes below MSRP, obviously I will adjust. But I understand a lot of people are not trying to sell for, you know, MSRP or around MSRP. A lot of these people are scalpers. The guy that I worked with, like I said, owned a store. And so things didn't work out. And so I said, how is it not working out? You know, if you're selling these things for 120, he was just selling these 120 like a month ago and people were buying them. Like, why would you close that? He said, because he was selling them for 150, you know, at one point $170, and it was worth his while. You know, it was like, yes, this is amazing. The people coming in are just overpaying. I'm tripling my money, maybe not tripling, but like doubling my money, and that was fun. And now making 120 is just not worth his time. He has other business ventures. This guy's not just an LGS owner, that just happens to be part of his business. Maybe he said 10% of his business was actually selling Pokemon, and the other 90% was like a hardware store. So really the money for him is in the hardware. And now that people are not going crazy over Pokemon, they still are going crazy, but they're starting to get a little bit smarter. It's just not worth his time to make 20, 30 bucks, which I was like, dang, that's crazy to think about, because most of us are like, wow, you know, if I can make 15%, 20%, that's pretty great. The S&P is probably paying you what, 7, 8% a year. And so for him, it just is simply not worth it to make 30% of his money or 25%. So I thought that was kind of crazy, but hey, here we are. And I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Now the white flares, man, the white flares, I have so many of these. I really do. And I think the most I've ever paid for these was like $75. And that's when they kind of first came out. But really, I've been getting them for about MSRP, and they're so easy to get. If you're dealing with pretty much anyone out there, it is hard to offload these white flares. I would not be paying more than $5 over MSRP, certainly not over $10 for MSRP. But I do think long term, it'll be a decent hold. You know, certainly you're going to want Black Bolt. Who doesn't want Black Bolt? And it has been a lot harder to find Black Bolt, but yeah, if you get it for the right price, it's pretty much like walking into Target or wherever, Best Buy or whatever, and then just buying it right out for what it's supposed to cost. So I think that helps me, certainly with the risk mitigation. Again, I'm trying to get as much inventory as I possibly can if the price is right, because I do want to end up owning a store, not a brick and mortar store, a physical store. No, not at all. I have no interest in owning a physical store at all, because it's just too risky for me. I've watched a lot of Rudy videos. I've watched a lot of store owner videos, and they will all tell you, man, it is hard, right? Because depending on your area, the rent is just such a big deal. $3,000, $5,000, somewhere in between there. For the store size that I would really like to own, I do suspect it'd be closer to $5,000. So that way you kind of get that wow factor when you come in, instead of like, oh, this is a little mom and pop shop. Like, I'd really like to own a mid-size store. And so I think, you know, would I really make $5,000 to pay the rent? And that's not even profits. That doesn't even include employees. That doesn't include insurance. That doesn't include taxes. None of that, right? So realistically, I might have to make $7,000, $8,000 profit a month to even pay bills for myself as well, not even including all these people working for me. I think it's just too much, right? I think it'd be a lot better for me to have it more of a side hustle. And then ultimately, maybe one day, you know, something like Pokey NE has, I think that would be pretty cool, but might be shooting for the moon there a little bit. So prismatic evolutions, I really see such a good opportunity with prismatic evolutions. I've had a couple people say like, you should really focus on the Pokemon Center. I agree. I would love to focus more on the Pokemon Center, but if you look at the chart for Pokemon Center, especially prismatic, it's crazy. It's crazy. I want to say they're going for like 300, 350, something like that. The chart is up, and it just doesn't make sense for me to buy things when they're high. I like to buy low, sell high. If you don't know my history, I've been trading stocks for probably 15 years now. This is my third crypto run, and we're not talking about garbage meme coins and stuff. We're talking about like Bitcoin, solid cryptocurrencies, right? So I'm not new to investing. I'm not new to trading. I'm not new to any of this stuff. New to the Pokemon side of it, absolutely. But honestly, once you're good at stocks, crypto, and again, not day trading and garbage like that. I'm talking about investing. It's quite simple. It kind of interchangeably does things. You just have to learn a couple things like who's the best Pokemon in this set? Who's the best Pokemon in that set? Not very difficult, but at the end of the day, the psychology of it for me really is I have to buy low and sell high. And so Prismatic is getting printed into the ground, which is great. As soon as I heard that Prismatic was getting printed into the ground, I got really excited. I said, oh, this is great, right? A lot of people are freaking out. A lot of people are thinking like, oh man, no, Prismatic's going to zero. I knew it. And I'm just sitting there like, yes, great. The more you print Prismatic, the cheaper I get it. The cheapest I've gotten Prismatic was probably from this guy. And like I said, I'm kind of estimating I paid about $83 for each one of these ETBs. So certainly not market, well under market for these. But I also had to buy a little bit of the trash, but I bought some of the trash like Journey Together and Shrouded Fables and White Flare pretty much for MSRP, if not at MSRP, which I think is a fair deal, certainly in this market. Because one thing that I'm seeing, and let me know how you feel on this in the comment section below, most people are trying to sell for 100% value. And I've noticed this is like a very common thing, especially with like younger people being very greedy, and they, they'll get 10 of these ETBs, 20 of these ETBs, and they would rather waste their time, maybe not waste, but maximize their gains and deal with 10 different people, 20 different people. And that sounds really good, right? That sounds really great. But if you meet somebody like myself, or maybe somebody who's paying a little bit more, we will take everything you have. Every time you have it, you deal with one person and you can focus your time. You can do other things in life. But when you have to go on Facebook Marketplace and talk to this one guy who wants to buy one or two and talk to 10 other people, you need to factor in your time, your gas, the risk. I mean, these people could rob you. Seriously, people could literally rob you for your money, depending on where you're meeting. And hell, some people don't give a shit, man. Some people will rob you even if you meet at the police station. I've heard of those kind of stories. Thankfully, I've never ran into those. But I personally like dealing with less people. The fewer people, the bigger the sale. We can move on and I could go on to the next one. And it's interesting because a lot of the people that I dealt with, I've bought multiple collections off people. Some of them scalpers, some people are collectors, and I prefer the scalpers. I'm not gonna lie to you, simply because they continue to bring product back, right? So they'll go to the stores, or I don't know how they do it. I don't give a shit how they do it. They'll go out with their friends and they'll get 20 ETBs, and then, the first time they don't really wanna sell to me. They're like, you're crazy. That's way too under market. Often I have to pay 90% on the first one. And I don't like to deal with people who getting under 10 ETBs. Really, anything under 10 is just simply not worth the drive. It's not worth my energy. It's not worth wasting my time with these people. But I aim at people who are really getting 20 ETBs plus, and I like dealing with those people. And then when I meet them in person, like I said, the first time, yes, I'll pay them like 90%. But I tell them, hey man, I'm not gonna be paying this in the future. This was a one-time thing. And they're like, dude, even 90% is not enough, because they don't fully understand, right? It is so much more valuable to you and to me to sell it all at one time. And then after the first deal, a lot of them do realize that. I'd say probably 60 or 70% of the people that I've dealt with at first were like, no way, dude. But they sold it. And then guess what? They came back to me, right? They got 15 white flares. They sold 2 of them. They thought about what I said to them, which is, why are you wasting your gas, your time, your energy on all these multiple people? And they ended up coming back and back and back. And now they love it, right? They tell me, for the most part, dude, DJ, I love dealing with you because you got cash. You are ready. There's no bullshit. This is the time and place. We meet. Done. And then they go enjoy their life. They go hang out with their kids. They can go to the movies with their girl. They can do whatever. But before, they were so interested in getting 100%. And so now they don't have time. And so when you have extra time on your hands, now you can go find more product or go do things that you want to do. Go to the beach. It doesn't matter. And so like, that's why I'm getting repeat customers. That's why I continue to deal with the same people. And I'm always looking for more people. But again, you got to kind of meet me in the middle, because think about it. In the modern age, why would someone pay you 100%? It literally doesn't make sense. I could go on TCG Player and get that same thing with no risk, right? I'm not gonna go to Facebook and like drive or meet up in this sketchy place, or maybe not even a sketchy place. There's a lot more risk, and more importantly, the time factor. You only have so much time in a day. Why would you waste it just meeting multiple people? It just simply does not make sense. And I think as you get older, I'm a little bit older, I'm 35 years old, you start to realize how important time is. It's like Pablo Escobar and all these guys. Obviously, completely different scale. I'm very small compared to Pablo Escobar, but let this sink in. Why do you think they prefer to deal with one or two larger people? And that's it, right? The smaller guys in between them are the foot dealers. They're the ones going to the street selling one. Do you always want to be a foot dealer? Like, think about that. Do you always want to be that person who has to deal with all these clients constantly? And most of them won't be repeat buyers because maybe they'll just open one and that's it. They're done. And now you got to go build this other relationship and risk them giving you 1 stars on eBay or Facebook or whatever you decide to do. But yeah, looking for 100% I think is simply greedy and it's ridiculous. Now, I do think there's certain products if they first come out, which I'm not a big guy on buying things when they first come out, but if they first come out, you're looking for 100%, you know, I get that. I really do. Again, if you have 1 or 2 of those. And another thing too, you have to factor in, besides the time, or kind of because of the time, I don't know any wholesaler in any other business that would simply buy all your product for 100%. Because 1, the risk is too high because like what? They're hoping that it goes up to 120% to make 20%. Literally doesn't make sense. I don't understand it, but that's how a lot of people are. And so you have to kind of weed out a lot of these kids, right? A lot of these people. And there's also 30-year-olds I've met that are thinking like that as well. But I've noticed in my personal experience, at least around Virginia, it seems to be the younger folks don't really understand. And I was probably guilty of that as well when I was young. I'm sure if I was a reseller, I've never sold any of the product I've got, but again, I do plan on selling it one day when I get a store. I would probably think the same way, like, no way, dude, I'm not missing 10% because 10% adds up and blah, blah, blah. But you didn't really factor in the time. And now if you don't have to chase all these people, what does that really mean? Now you can go to a different restock or you can go meet up with your other friends, or I have no idea how these people do it. But if they're really smart, right, they'll find somebody like me or they'll find somebody who's paying even more than me. I have no idea. And then they'll get people under them that go out and do these things and sell it to them for a little profit, and they could sell it to me for profit. I don't know. There's endless possibilities with all of it. So all in all, do I want to buy more prismatic? I sure do. I don't think there's really a stop to buying prismatic for me unless I have to buy at market. You know, if prismatic starts to go up to 130, which I'm sure one day it will, and 150 and all that, I'm not really interested at those buy-in points. But for sure, right now, while things are getting printed, absolutely, you bet your bottom dollar that I am interested in buying as much prismatic as possible. White flare, am I as interested in buying? Oh man, I need more black bolt. I really do. I need more black bolt. Yeah, you know, for MSRP, I'll buy it. Sure, pretty much. That's how I feel. Same thing with Journey Together. Honestly, I'm not really looking to get a bunch more Journey Together, especially the regular ETB. I did buy a Pokemon Center up there for Journey Together. The other day, I spent 128 bucks. I couldn't believe it. 128 bucks. Sure, I thought that was a good deal. And Shrouded Fable, you know, I'm not really looking to buy these again, unless they're MSRP. Then, other than that, not really. But the SPC, I would be looking to buy, though. Like I said, the prices are going crazy. So for sure, I think this was a fantastic deal. Like I said, if you go off of today's market, we're positive $575, which is pretty awesome considering I spent just shy of $2,000. So yeah, I'm not selling any of this. My prediction for this particular collection, I think, assuming we stay in the bull run, you know, it's pretty good stuff. I think certainly Prismatic is going to carry it, but I don't see any reason why like these smaller ones won't, you know, like Shrouded and White Flare and Journey Together don't appreciate another 10-20%, but I think Prismatic certainly would go up 30 to 50% over the next year or two, assuming we don't go into a massive bear run. And you know what? If we do go into a massive bear run, guess what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be buying more. That's what it is. And if things ever, you know, for Prismatic were to hit MSRP, oh my God, I would back the truck up and load up, but I don't see that happening, man. I really think Prismatic is pretty much at the bottom here of what it could do, unless, you know, another Sam's Club comes out, another Costco comes out. How long is this opportunity going to be around where people simply cannot sell these for market, you know, in mass for this $100 range price? I don't think it's going to last much longer, man. There's just no way. Every single kid that I've met, every single kid at these shows that I see is interested in Prismatic. My kids, everyone is interested in Prismatic. Umbreon is the #1 card of Scarlet and Violet. Like, come on, dude. Are you serious? Do you really? I mean, the chase cards are amazing. All of them are amazing. Flareon, all the way up to Umbreon. I mean, everybody wants them. And it's just too much value in that. So yeah, I think this was a great buy. Let me know if you made it to the end of this video. Do put in hashtag pen hashtag pen, P-E-N, road to 100 subscribers. If you want to see more videos about me buying collections, this was actually the first time I filmed it. This is like my 5th or 6th collection recently, so I don't know why I didn't film the rest, but let me know. I want to hear from all of you. Road to 100 subscribers. I think we're at like 77, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. DJ's Poke Center, signing out.